everyone, this is Wolfychu, and you know how in every school there's always at least one teacher that seems kind of weird or just really different from the others? Or those teachers that seem to either love you or hate you for no particular reason? My school definitely had a couple of teachers like this. I remember my old PE teacher. This person was someone who was completely in love with himself. He was pretty much the Gaston of the school, so I'm just gonna call him that. He kept pictures of himself on the walls of his office, and talking about himself seemed to always be his favorite thing to do. There was one time where we had a lesson with him, and he had us all standing in a circle. Mr. Gaston walked into the middle of the circle to show us which stretches to do, and then all of a sudden he paused and did the thing where he licked his finger, put it on his leg, and went tss. Some people laughed, but most of us were just kind of weirded out. There was one time where he took my class on a run around the streets outside of the school grounds. This was actually a super exciting thing for us because it meant that we could get out of the school for an hour, which back then was pretty much the best thing that could happen. One thing that I thought was weird though was that even though he was the PE teacher and all of us had to run, Mr. Gaston didn't run at all. He just rode along next to us on his motorcycle while yelling out to keep going with a loudspeaker. I can only imagine how onlookers would have reacted to seeing this. He probably didn't even look like he was our teacher, just some guy who was yelling and chasing a bunch of school students on his bike. Then there was my old technology teacher. She actually kind of reminded me of Snape from Harry Potter. She never smiled and had short, permanently greasy hair that always stuck to her face. I always felt like teaching technology really wasn't the job she wanted. She really didn't seem interested in anything about it, and for some reason she always wore a lab coat, even though we were never in the lab. She even wore it on hot summer days. I'm pretty sure she didn't like me very much. Maybe the reason for that was because I'm a Gryffindor. Every time I showed up to her class, I felt like she was going to deduct points from my house. Every time I would finish a test, I'd always have extra time, so I thought I'd decorate the sides of the pages with little drawings while the rest of the class finished. Every time I got my results back from her, I always felt like my marks were a lot lower than what I expected. And looking back on this, I wonder if this was because of my little drawings. I also always felt like her eyes followed me around the room, like she was watching my every move, and every time I looked up to see if she was watching, she would suddenly turn away. I did also feel like she might have just been misunderstood though. There was this one time where she was trying to help someone in the class, and then this one girl started drawing on the back of her favorite lab coat with permanent marker without her noticing. This made me feel really sad for her. I'll never be able to understand people who find it fun to do mean things like this to other people. Then there was this one teacher who was easily the worst teacher I have ever had. I had just changed schools, and I chose to be in one of her classes, although I had no idea what I was getting myself into. She seemed okay at first, but then I started to hear a lot of horror stories about her. Like there was this one guy in my year who used to take 2 classes with her, and apparently she bullied him so badly that he dropped out of both of these classes and changed his entire career path because of it. Just imagine, this guy could have had a completely different future if it hadn't been for this teacher. Anyways, I wasn't very good at this class, especially due to the fact that I had just enrolled at this new school and all of the students were expected to write in English. I had little experience writing in English as I'd just come from Spanish-speaking schools in the past. So when the teacher saw that my work wasn't up to the standards she wanted, instead of pointing out my mistakes and helping me do a better job, she just got really angry at me. This teacher was mean, and she made it clear that she did not like me. A few weeks after I started at this school, a transfer student joined the class. Her English wasn't very good, so she was finding it a bit hard to keep up with the teacher's explanations. So I was sitting next to her trying to help her understand everything when the teacher suddenly stormed over and started yelling at me for not paying attention in class. I'm the type of person who really can't handle people yelling at me, so I just started to cry. The people sitting next to me were trying to comfort me, but I'm not sure if anyone else is like this, but for some reason, whenever people try to comfort me when I'm crying, it makes me cry even more. The teacher just rolled her eyes and went back to the lesson. Then there was another time where she was looking at one of my assignments in class, and she suddenly called me over to her, and she started yelling at me again because my work still just wasn't good enough. And then she says, "I really don't think this is the right class for you." And then, in front of the entire class, she tells me that she thinks that it would be better for me to just drop out. I was really embarrassed by this, and by that point I really felt like I couldn't take being around this teacher any longer. It was just far too stressful. So after just 2 months of being in this class, I dropped out. The weird thing about this story though was that as soon as I dropped out of her class, she suddenly started being really nice to me whenever I passed her in the hall. It was like she was a completely different person, and I never stopped being confused by her. I felt like at any moment she was being nice to me, she could suddenly just snap. Well, those are my weird teacher stories. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I also really wanted to give a quick thank you to all of you for supporting me. I created this channel because I love to draw, and I'm having a lot of fun with it, and knowing that you guys are having fun with it too just makes me so happy. So thank you all so much for being here and supporting me. It really means the whole world to me. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye!